Radiating light and shining bright, I am lunarastarshine, and I am here with my guest, Obsidian Whyte. We're in Obsidian's office space in downtown Las Vegas at a center called Bloom, which is for women entrepreneurs, and we have this awesome space that we're able to do this interview. And Obsidian here has an awesome group called House of the Goddess that she founded when she was 18 years old. So that was how long ago?
I'm 21, so that was 3 years ago.
3 years ago she formed that, and that has been an awesome source for women here locally to gather in women's circles and receive all kinds of healing from that. And now she's taking that to a larger scale. I'm going to be offering more things locally, but also online, and she's even going to have groups spread out throughout the United States and maybe eventually internationally as she grows. So that's really exciting. I know you formerly were named Mackenzie.
Yes.
So she recently went through an awesome name change, and I also have a different name that I go by, so that's something that we can relate
deeply
with. But what I have not done is legally change my name, and she's been going through the process of legal name change. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, as well as her recent travels and experience of living out of her car. So thank you for joining us, and let's dive into this interview. So what inspired you to change your name to Obsidian?
So I have gone through a deep shadow processing awakening experience and really dove deep into my shadow and the parts of me that I've left unseen, healing from addictions, self-abuse, death. And for a long while I repressed all of that emotion, all of that darkness. And I had my first spiritual awakening when I was 15. So I identified more with light and love and positivity and always repressed the darker stuff. Just chose that everything was perfect and it was all good. And when I was 19, I started to realize that I was kind of living a little bit like a facade, right? Like, I definitely identified with the light and the positivity and the bright energy, but there was something much deeper inside of me that was being ignored. So as I dove deep into what that looked like, such as like getting my nails done every week for me. I mean, for some people this is who they are and this is how they express themselves, but little things I was doing were just against who I naturally was at the core as a healer. So Obsidian was given to me in Zion National Park. At that time I was doing a lot of shadow processing and had a deep awakening experience in Zion itself, but a crystal healer actually mistakenly addressed me as Obsidian, looking in my eyes, and I felt this ripple in my chest, and I kind of looked at him and I was like, I paused for a moment and then I said, I am. And from that moment forward, I tried it on like a new shirt or a new pair of shoes. And for about a year, I went by Obsidian. And just now, I'm taking the next step and legally changing it.
Awesome. That's exciting. So have you already gone through the process of formally changing it through the state, or how does that even work? I mean, how does one even go about legally changing it?
I mean, it varies from state to state. I mean, similar processes, but I know in Vegas, Nevada, basically you have to file a report online that you can download, take it to the Family Services Court, and then file it for a name change. It's like $270, so a little bit pricey. And then from there you have to call a newspaper company. The Las Vegas Review-Journal or Nevada Legal News were the two options that I had, and get your name changed published in a newspaper. So that was a weird requirement, that you have to do to get your name changed. But so I'm in the process.
And you felt like that was essential for you to do that because I know you're launching your business and going through those formal changes. So what is the most challenging thing that's come up for you with having to go through this process and tell your family and tell other people about your name change?
Wow. I mean, the first day that I actually set this into motion and went to court and got it filed, I told my family and they were like horrified. So upset with me. Really hurt, I think. My mom was feeling confused and maybe going through her own little crisis. And my stepdad was upset, and it was tough. It was really tough going through that and telling my family. That's been the worst so far. Everyone else, friends and acquaintances and followers, seem to be very accepting and understanding. But yeah.
Yeah, I can understand it being hard for your family because, you know, they've been so used to you being one person.
Yeah.
And I would say that the majority of us are really, we hold on to the people we know, you know, as who they are. And to see them transform and go through such a big change, it's almost like one part of you is dying and a new part of you is being born. And for them to fully like grasp that and accept that, it's going to take some time. But I think that these type of experiences are great for our family and other people because they're learning, you know, to be able to let go of their little girl or who they saw you as and see that, you know, you're creating your own person now and stepping into your own womanhood. And that's like a really 100%. beautiful thing. And you look at history and women have had to make some huge changes in their lives and be bold, and not everyone is always going to agree with that initially. And it takes a lot of strength and courage for you to do that, you know. So that is really inspiring to me, as I have not legally gone through that process of changing my name to Luna. I don't feel that is necessary for me at this time, but do you have any advice maybe for me or for other viewers who are considering going through a legal name change like that? Do you think it's important that everyone does that, or do you think maybe that's just up to the individual? But if they are thinking about that, do you have any advice?
Sure. I mean, to answer your question specifically, if you're looking to change your name legally, it's really important that you are certain that this is what you want to do, and you cannot see life without doing this change. You can do business as a separate name, like, you know, I could be Mackenzie doing business as Obsidian, right? And it could show up on my business accounts and all of that as Obsidian, but my real name be Mackenzie. So ultimately, in Mark Twain, for example, an amazing American philosopher, writer, you know, that wasn't his real name, and there's so many rappers and people that we know. It has to be what you want to do, and, you know, thinking about, I really can't imagine life unless I did this. Like, this is who I am. I'm ready to completely embody it. And, you know, really feeling that in your heart rather than your mind. Like, oh, I need to do it for this reason or for that reason. But knowing it in your soul center that this is your truth and you want to own it and claim it.
Awesome. That's excellent advice for myself and anyone watching. If you're going through that type of experience where you have found a spiritual name for yourself that you're ready to be known as, and going through that process of telling your family, you know, even if you're not going to legally change it, it can be a little hard. I mean, even for me telling my family that my name was Luna, some of my family was more accepting than others, you know. Some of my friends or family will never call me Luna all the time, you know. Sometimes they remember, but because they knew me before as my old self, but also it's important to be able to just let go of that aspect and know who you are at all times. But also we can all have these multiple personalities, you know. You might have multiple names that you go by, you know, depending on what face you're going to put on that day. And that's kind of awesome.
It's creative,
part about
right?
being a person is that you're not limited to just one definition of yourself. You can create multiple facets of yourself. I think of like pop stars and different artists who go through phases, like David Bowie was Ziggy Stardust, you know, and a few different artists have had alter egos and just different characters that they personified. So that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I wanted to talk to you a bit about House of the Goddess as well. What is House of the Goddess?
Yeah. The House of the Goddess is a community and school for empowered women. So even if you don't feel like you're 100% who aligned with your soul self yet, if you know that you are connected to something greater and you want to be surrounded by supportive and like-minded women, it's a perfect place to grow and to be, and an amazing tool and resource for tons of spiritual growth, holistic healing. So basically a school and in both a community.
Nice. So what events do you have coming up, for example, with House of the Goddess?
Yeah. So we host 2 moon circles a month. There's one virtual circle online. So for all of you that are watching and you're not in Nevada, but maybe around the States or abroad, we have events where you can attend online. In moon circles, so we go around and we talk about the cycle and what the astrology and what we're feeling twice a month. So once virtually and once in person in Nevada. And as we'll be traveling, we'll be moving around and offering circles where we are. And we also do workshops and yoga classes. The yoga classes, they're once or twice a month, and the circles are twice a month, new and full moons. So those are 4 events that are set in stone, 3 to 4 depending on how many yoga classes we do. But we also host workshops on top of that. So Luna and I are doing aligning with your inner child and healing the inner child relationship workshop next month, which I'm really excited about.
Yes, I am also excited about that workshop, and we'll also be including the links below this video so you can find out more about these workshops and how to get more involved with House of the Goddess, whether you're local or somewhere else. What inspired you originally to create House of the Goddess?
I felt so much like women were in competition with one another, right? You walk into, if you're in school, you walk into high school or you walk into a grocery store or a gas station, and women kind of look at each other weird, or not. It's just, there's an awkward energy between women, I feel like. Not everywhere, but I just saw that a lot growing up, especially in high school. And my senior year, I isolated myself. I didn't really have anyone that I truly felt connected with, and it was hurtful. It was really painful. I felt like I had to do everything by myself, and I think, being a creative entrepreneur, that's still a part and an aspect that I'm healing. Like, we are fully supported, right? Especially when you know that in your heart and soul. So really building a community of support was what inspired me to create the House of the Goddess.
That's amazing. Yeah, I know myself, I also felt alone at times, or not as fully connected to my sisters as I would have liked. There's always been kind of a competitive feel, especially in our Western culture, amongst women. You look at movies like Mean Girls and things like that. It was always a popularity contest. And now I think that's definitely changing, and there's more support coming from the community, and there's more women's circles and things like House of the Goddess being birthed, because this is kind of a time of the divine feminine truly rising.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a time for women to really be empowered and to become entrepreneurs and really to become the masters of their own lives, which is an amazing time that we're able to live in, because
incredible.
I mean, just looking at history, it has not been this easy for women ever to really be the master and creator of their life. And so I feel really fortunate to be here at this time, and that these types of things are absolutely important and critical for human consciousness and expansion, for people to come together in unity, and not just women, but men as well. But I think that men have always kind of had their cliques and their circles, or that's been a normal thing for men to get together and have their cigars kind of thing.
Sure.
Where women, when they got together, it was kind of quiet. It wasn't as loud or announced.
Well, and as the men were smoking their cigars, the women would be taking the children and cleaning up the kitchen, and right? So it's interesting how much times have changed, but like you said, I truly believe that women are on the rise, and we are the leaders of this new age and this time that we're in. It's through compassion and leading with our heart that we're truly going to make an impact in the world.
Absolutely. And we all have these qualities of feminine and masculine, whether you're male or female, and it's kind of about balancing these qualities within ourselves and not feeling afraid to have that compassion or that emotion really come through, and knowing that you're supported by people is really a gift.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Thank you for doing that work. So I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about your recent travels, because you just kind of got back to Las Vegas recently. Because I know you were living with your boyfriend out of a car, not because you had to, but because it was something you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So can you tell our viewers a little bit about that experience?
Yes, I would love to. So from the beginning, my partner knew that he wanted to get out of Vegas and wanted to spread his wings a little bit. I didn't know when I wanted to do that. I had the same idea in the back of my mind, but he was very moving forward about it. He was like, this is my plan. I have this, this Toyota 4Runner, and I want to renovate it and turn it into a home. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. Let's do it. It took about 6 months to make that vision a reality, just because, there was a lot of, we procrastinated on the building out of the car until 3 days before we left, right? So it was just putting it off. But we both knew that it was happening and we were going to do it. And we took off. For Cinco de Mayo, we went to Mexico, and we started in Baja, Mexico, and we went all the way up the West Coast and into Washington, Oregon, Iowa, Idaho, Colorado, Utah, the whole nine, Arizona, and then came back to Vegas, and it was incredible waking up in new places every day. Not to say it was easy, not like, there's a lot when it comes to what I learned and the experiences, like internal experiences that I had, but it was probably the most freeing thing I've ever done, most liberating experience.
Awesome. So what advice would you have for somebody who's considering going on a trip like that, or taking a few months off of work? How does somebody prepare themselves to get in that state? How much do you pack? How do you eat when you're in that kind of situation?
Yeah, great question. First step is deciding I'm doing this, and there is nothing that's getting in my way. It is happening, right? And then create maybe a timeline. I want to leave in 3 months or 6 months, but make sure you know that you are leaving and set a tentative date. And then when it comes to planning, intentionally we made this trip completely about flow and just kind of moving and going, and as great as that was, it came with a lot of challenges, right? I definitely would recommend getting a map of the place that you are, like the United States if you're traveling, or Europe if you're traveling there. Have that in your back pocket, in your car with you, and refer to that so you know coordinates if your GPS runs out. In regards to food, for me, I keep it really simple. When we were traveling, I would do either green powder or a protein shake with almond milk in the morning, or oats, really simple. Lunch would be brown rice and veggies, and then dinner is soup. So that was kind of what we based it around, unless we were eating out, which we tried to lower it down because that gets really expensive, really expensive. So keep it simple. This experience is about freedom, and if you're a minimalist, which is kind of our intention was as well, moving into the journey, living with as little as possible, think minimal. You don't need a ton of stuff. I went with maybe 4 shirts, 2 tank tops, a pair of jeans, shorts, pajamas, underwear, bras, hiking boots. Simple, simple as can
Keep
be.
it minimal.
Yeah.
So what was the hardest thing about that experience?
The hardest aspect for me about living in the car and traveling was all of the yuck that came up from not having a shower, not having a place to lay on the couch or a bed to sleep in, having a place to chill and just read a book. I mean, the car was pretty small, and if you're in there's not much headspace. You're either going to bed or you're pulling out the thing to cook. Other than that, that was difficult. And due to hygiene, my skin broke out really bad, really horribly, worse than I've ever had in my life. And it was a deep journey of self-acceptance and loving myself regardless of what I look like, and recognizing that when I have makeup on and I walk into a place, you know, people acknowledge me and look around. And when, you know, my skin was broke out and I walked in, you know, it was kind of like a fly on the wall, and learning to love myself, like, no matter what. That didn't matter. It's about how I feel within. So
Absolutely.
I would say that was the toughest part, both the hygiene, the skin breaking out, and not having a place to truly, like, relax and unwind.
Wow. Well, I've been camping quite a few times in my life, but never for that long of a duration, so I can imagine that that would be challenging.
Yeah.
But also fun.
Yeah.
And
So worth it.
yeah, I would definitely advise anyone who is inspired to do that to just do it, because
Yeah, and get a bigger van, get a cart, get something that you know it works for you, and test it out beforehand as well.
Yeah.
You know, go for like a week trip, like to a national park, right, and just enjoy that and see what, and then go home and say, okay, what do I need to fix? What, you know, what
That's
needs
a great
to,
idea.
yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so overall, Obsidian, what do you think your message is and your main goal with House of the Goddess and with your coaching? I know you do coaching somewhat as well, as well as being a yoga teacher. So what is your main message that you want to share through your teachings? And if you could tell your viewers anything right now, what comes to mind?
Yeah, wow. So 2 things specifically. First one is wherever you are, driving, at home, at a lunch break, at work, that's your purpose at that moment. You're there now, be present there, plan for the future, and spend time crafting and creating, but be wherever you are fully and feel everything that's going on there. Focus on that specifically, just presence, that main thing. Next one is loving yourself enough to struggle, enough to hurt, enough to go through the trauma and go through the pain to walk that path of light and to get to that place that you want to be.
Awesome, awesome. I love that. It's beautiful. Really, thank you again for coming on to this show. This is actually my first interview on my YouTube channel. Most of the time I do little solo videos. But today I wanted to have an interview and hopefully do more interviews like this with people who inspire me ultimately. So thank you. So now I have my deck of Soul Reflections cards that I like to pull, and I wanted to ask Obsidian to pull one today and to read an affirmation for herself as well as our viewers, and to just kind of read it on your own, and whatever comes up, whatever you think that this card is speaking to you, just if you want to share that, that would be awesome.
Soul Reflections. I embrace my creativity. I'm creative in all aspects of my life, from the way that I do my makeup, take care of myself, write blogs, talk to people, to how I feel about my business and my career. I'm a creative being, and when I express my creativity, I feel most alive, most aligned.
Awesome. Awesome. So today we encourage you to embrace your creativity as well, whatever that means for you, whether you're an artist or a writer, or whether you're an activist or a skateboarder. It doesn't matter. All of these aspects are creative. You are here to create your own life and to paint a picture of how you want your life to look. And you have the power to do anything. Like Obsidian here, she decided to create this awesome group for women. And now she's taking that even larger and offering it to people online even. So she has this audience that's just growing and growing, as well as going on this awesome adventure for 3 months, living out of a car, which is really wild, and a lot of people wouldn't have that courage, and even choosing your name and changing your name legally. These are all really inspiring and creative things that you decided to do to create your life and what you wanted your life to look like. So that's awesome and super inspiring, and just want to say thank you all for viewing today. I've had an awesome time interviewing you and look forward to seeing what else you do with House of the Goddess.
Thank you, Luna.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you all have a beautiful day and stay kind.